called an Emmentaler type Swiss cheese. Over a week ago now, about 9 days ago I guess, I made it. It spent a week at 50 degrees and now it's been out for a couple of days at room temperature. The dark streaks that you see are blue mold or green mold or whatever. I can manage to clean it off of all the surfaces with a piece of cloth dipped in salty water, and that works quite well. But these are ridges where there were folds in the cheesecloth that I used when it was in the mold, and getting down in there and getting them out is not easy. Traditionally, they are a rind washed cheese, I think you call it. Anyway, you don't wax them. You keep cleaning them daily with salt water until they develop a natural rind, which it says a reddish color is normal. And there are some highlights. I don't know if that's picking up or not. Some reddish orange highlights there coming up in it. But I don't plan to do that. I am going to use the new kind of, well, new to me, a cheese covering, not actually a wax. You don't melt it or heat it. It's in a little tub when you buy it, and you paint it on with a brush, 2 coats. But I can't do that until it has gone through this next 3 weeks, where it hopefully will develop those holes or eyes. And what I'm showing you now is just so you can see what it's shaped like now, because the last time I did this, I used the same mold. It's called an Edam cheese mold, and it produces this nice, quite thick cheese. And when it was finished with its production of the eyes and holes, it was a disc about 2 inches thick and half again as wide as that. It was amazing watching what it did over 3 weeks. So my plans are to bring this back and, I don't know, weekly or something in here and do another little clip so you can see it changing. And then I promised people that I would show this new cheese covering that I'm using and how I apply it. So that will be the last part of this clip. I will put a link down below to another video that I've already done on how I made the cheese. It's the same cheese. I already have a video out there on making the Swiss cheese, so I didn't bother taking you through all of that process. And I'll bring you back soon and show you, hopefully, it's starting to get bubbles and lumps in it and everything as it produces those internal eyes and holes. Well, it's been 8 days since I took the last clip. And the cheese is changing shape slightly, but I don't see any great, bulges or anything yet where eyes or bubbles are forming inside. But this reddish orange is taking over, which is a good thing. More of it on that side. And there's less of the blue mold each day when I rub it with the cheesecloth that's been dampened in the salt water. So I think you refer back to the previous video. I think it was higher. It is now sort of spreading out some. So hopefully something's happening and eyes are beginning to form. But that's what it looks like at the end of 8 days anyway. Well, this is week 2. I haven't been convinced that anything was happening. I still don't know, of course, if it's forming its eyes or holes inside or not, but I've just finished wiping it down, taking off any of the blue mold, and you can see some of these other molds are still progressing, but they're not doing that badly. But this is a Gouda cheese made several months ago, and it's shrink wrapped and it's vacuum sealed, and it's in the cheese fridge. But I brought it out because they are both made in the same mold. It's an Edam mold. And if you can see the difference in the size of the Gouda, the width and whatever in this, if something is happening, it's sort of squatting and getting a bit wider. I hope that means it's developing eyes. Anyway, this is after 2 weeks at room temperature. Well, this is the end of week 3. And now I'm thinking there's going to be a week 4. I've brought once again the Gouda out to show you what it would have looked like when it began its life. And I don't know if I can show you. It's even sort of lopsided now. You can see what I mean. It has swollen up more on this side. And it's done a lot in the past week. I'll show you all the way around it there. Sort of bulged out here some, so I'm assuming it is developing eyes and holes, whatever, inside of it. My house, well, room temperature is room temperature, I guess. My house is a cool room temperature during the winter time. I have thermostats usually set on around 20. And I'm thinking that might have slowed it down, so I don't know if I'll let it go another full week or part of a week. I'll decide, but I'm going to keep an eye on it and see what happens. The last time that I did one of these, this is what it was doing, only it got even wider and got down to being a couple of inches thick. It was amazing how much the shape of the thing changed. Fairly solid when I started, and they're not now. You can sort of, I suppose because of the airspace is in there, you can push down on it a little bit, but I will bring you back when the final day arrives here and I start to think about waxing it or putting this, it's called cream wax on, one that you paint on anyway. But I'm going to let it go at least a few more days. Well, here goes nothing, so to speak. I waited another 4 days, aged it another 4 days, and then there was a place, I don't see it's quite so noticeable this morning, right now anyway. Right there, I guess it was more noticeable. There's a place, instead of it being raised out, there was now a depression, and it appeared to me that, well, it's probably created all of the eyes or holes that it's going to make, and now some of them are starting to collapse. So I'm going to put the, I think it's called cream wax. There's nothing on the label or anything on this little pot to say what it's called, but other companies that sell it call it a cream wax. And you paint it on a dry cheese, 2 coats of it. And from what I have read online, it takes quite a bit of time for it to dry in between applying the coats. So I'm sure it'll be several hours doing this. Get the much as I can get on one side, and then have to let it thoroughly dry before I can flip it over to do the other side, and then that whole process has to be repeated again. I will bring you back shortly and show you what this side looks like when I'm ready to let it dry anyway. Well, that's 1 coat on that side. Goes on fairly easily. This is a little brush that was provided with the pot of stuff, and you can pick them up or not, but there are hairs coming out of it into the wax, but I guess that won't hurt anything. And I was wondering how you would ever keep the brush clean in between paintings. I got to put the cover back on that before it dries out, but evidently it's water soluble. I just put it under the tap and rinsed it back and forth, and the brush came clean. So I don't know how long it will take. I will leave that until it's really dry so I can turn it over and do the other side. I guess in the first of these clips I've said that I have very little luck with the hot waxing. I always seem to get cracks in it and mold and things develop in the cracks and whatever, so I wanted to try this. But another reason that I want to wax this, Swiss cheeses traditionally, evidently, aren't waxed. They have a natural rind. You just keep doing what I've been doing. You keep washing the exterior to keep the molds off of it, and it develops a rind. But several of the groups that I follow on Facebook and places have said that they have a problem with that with small cheeses like this. This one was around a 4-pound cheese. I think it's probably less than that. Right now I'll weigh it before I put it in the cheese fridge to start its aging. But they develop a rind, and the rind is fairly thick, so that's cheese that you lose. But also they've had problems with the cheese being drier than it should be because of the size of them, evidently. So several people are recommending using using this. I have already mentioned that I tried vacuum sealing one, and the cheese aged beautifully and was delicious, but the vacuum seals process squashed the cheese down and most of the holes disappeared. So this is the current effort. I'll bring you back when I've got the coat on the first coat on both sides. Well, it's had one complete coat, both sides. The second side, which is now down under it, dried faster than this side did because I learned my lesson and put it on thinner. I don't know if that means I might have to eventually do 3 coats or what, but I got some thick puddles on the first time, and they didn't dry as quickly. Makes sense, I guess. Well, I'm not going to keep you watching me doing this. I just wanted to let you know that it's now getting its second coat. I'll bring you back once it has got both coats and I'm ready to put it in the cheese fridge for its aging. Well, it's now had its second coating of covering. The cream wax, whatever, is completely dried. I brought out the Gouda again for comparison. I just weighed didn't weigh the Gouda, no, I weighed this one. It weighs 3 pounds, 12 ounces now, so I'm assuming now that it's sealed, it won't lose any more weight. I measured them around. The Gouda is 46 centimeters around, and the Swiss is 58 centimeters around, and you can see the difference in the shape. They were both made in the exact same mold. It's amazing what happens when this starts to grow its eyes and holes in there. Well, now it goes in the cheese fridge at 45 degrees for at least 3 months, and I suspect 3 months will be it. I will bring it out in 3 months' time, which would be around the 1st of June, I guess. We'll give it a try and see what it's like, and hopefully it's got eyes and holes. Well, thank you very much for watching.